It's Read a Roadmap Day today. Fitzy, do you even own a roadmap?
Yeah, we have county road maps. I still carry one on my car.
Well, I don't have a roadmap, but if you're looking to buy or sell a home, let our friends at the Wisconsin Lakes team create a roadmap for your future. That wasn't too bad.
That was a really good one.
Yeah, I thought so. Anyone can say that they are an agent, but not everyone treats their clients as they would like to be treated. And that's what Aaron and Katie do. So go to lakesteamwy.com so they can help you start your roadmap. What do you give me for that one?
That was a good one. I like that 7.
Okay, I'll take a 7.
Yeah.
It's also obviously Election Day today. It's not a national day or holiday or anything. But you know who has my vote, Fitzy?
Who is your vote?
I'll give you 3 guesses, but you only need one. Industrial safety. And actually, Adam is our guest today. So, because he is on, I'll let him do his 20 or 30 second plug. So, Adam, tell us about industrial safety.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Ben. Good to be on with you guys. Industrial Safety is a small family-owned company over in Clear Lake. Been around for nearly 30 years. Sell product to fire departments, law enforcement, industry, service fire extinguishers, all of the kind of equipment that fire departments use, we service. So we've got some great customers in the area, and really proud of our small local business here.
What are you giving for that, Fitzy?
I got it. You gotta give him a 10, man.
You gotta.
He's helping the little guy out.
He's the owner, and he's coming on and plugging his own business. So yeah. Also,
actually, to be clear, my wife owns it. I don't know anything.
Oh, okay. It's also National Library Workers Day, a day to recognize the importance and contributions of the library staff who keep our libraries running while we get lost in the wonderful books. So if you know a library staff member, send them a message today and say thank you. I don't even know where our local library is.
Oh, I'm on the library board. I don't read books, but I'm on the library board.
Yeah, that figures. Good morning, everybody. It's Positive Tuesday today, April. Wow, it's the 5th today. What in the world? So I have this new computer. It says it's the 16th, and the temperature is 18 degrees Celsius in Kabul. So clearly, I'm going to have to set some things up.
Hope you got that one cheap.
Oh no! Now all of a sudden, oh man, everything's just going haywire. All right, anyway, so candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General Adam Jarchow is joining us today. But first, for Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. With nearly 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business has provided quality work in roofing, garages, siding, window installations, kitchen and bathroom remodeling, vinyl and hardwood flooring, and they can even build your house or business from the ground up. Like Fitzy and I, Professional Exteriors and Interiors believes that it's the little things that make a big difference. So give them a call today. The number's right there on the screen. Fitzy, good morning. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Adam's on.
Yeah.
Adam's
always fun.
We've been trying to get him on for a show for quite a while. So excited. Adam, thank you so much for coming on. We always like to kind of start with something positive going on in our lives. So what's positive going on in your life, Adam?
I voted today with my wife. It's Election Day. Election Day is my absolute favorite day in America. I love the peaceful transition of power. I love every single thing that it stands for. So get out and vote for your local candidates, county board, town board, school board, village, city, all of those kind of things. Very, very important day. Do not stay home. Go vote. Exercise your right.
Fantastic. Now I feel like I want to go vote.
You're not gonna?
That's a long story. So, Fitzy, how about you? What's new and positive in your life?
It was just a beautiful Sunday. Worked outside, just relaxed, didn't do much, and we are gonna go vote today. We've got a lot of local elections that can make a big difference. So, everyone, like Adam said, go out and vote. It is a great day. It's we're going to have new county board members, which affects the sheriff's department. You're going to have city council members. You're going to have school board races. It's a pretty fun day. I plan on going to the county clerk's office and helping them when all the results come in. It's going to be fun.
Helping them with all the okay.
I'm going to cheer them on.
Oh, cheer them on. Go. That'll be great. We should have done a live show there.
Yeah, we can. I can zoom in tonight.
Yep. So I really have nothing to talk about. And honestly, I'll pass. How about that? I'm passing I'll talk about it next week. I want to talk about something, but I'm so excited to have Adam on, so I want to get to that. But first, we do have to go over a press release or any articles that I've done in Barron County regarding law enforcement. So I want to get to that right away here. Our headline was "Cop Sees Over Quarter Pound of Meth in Undercover Drug Investigation." This was a press release from you. 39-year-old woman was arrested after law enforcement found her in possession of over 138 grams of meth as part of an undercover drug investigation. There wasn't a lot of information in that press release. What can you tell us about that?
I can tell you it was really simple. We made drug deal, bought drugs, arrested person. So it's as simple as that. This one doesn't get any simpler. This isn't. I was confused myself because the press release is literally 5 sentences long, but that's really what it is. We bought drugs and we wanted to buy some more drugs, and
when you say it like that, it just sounds.
Well, they didn't bring enough. We had enough money to buy more. They didn't bring enough, and we bought grams. And when you break it down, I mean, obviously, it's about $12,000 in street value if you break it down into ounces, which is what people buy. So when you break it down, it's about $12,000. When you buy it in wholesale, we were going to pay $4,000-ish for that. So we got our money back. We got the drugs. We got the bad guy. It was a win-win for everybody on that one, and we took a lot of drugs off the street. That's a big hit. If you look at La Crosse, just did a press release. They took $15,000 in meth off the street. So in the same day, between La Crosse and Barron County, we took $30,000 of meth off the streets. It's the big deal, and that was a big hit for us, and that's what it's about, and that's what Adam's working across the state for. This is one of the big things that he's fighting for, and I appreciate that.
Adam, is there anything you want to add to that? And while you do that, I have to go grab my coffee.
Yeah, it's interesting to listen to the sheriff talk about that, because it's everything that I've come to learn about law enforcement over my time, both in the legislature and as a volunteer firefighter, being on scenes with law enforcement and working closely with ours here, is humility, professionalism, hard work is what we see all day, every day from law enforcement across the state. And so when he says, "Oh, it was easy," no, it wasn't easy. You guys did a great job. You professionally executed on this operation. You got the bad guy. You're going to put the bad guy behind bars, and you got the drugs off the street. It is what you guys do all day, every day, and you're so humble about it that I think sometimes you undersell what a great thing and what a great profession you have.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, we do. I mean, I have the best team in the world, and every sheriff should think that about their own team, and I think they do think that about their own team. But we've had some pretty unique cases in Barron County over the past few years, and it's just when you have a great team, my job is easy. And Ben and I talk about that all the time, both on record and off the record, about things that we do and the cops, the way they do their job. It's just special, and I thank you for the support that you give cops across the state, and man, you've been working hard, and I appreciate that.
And actually that's a good segue there. So I only wrote down one thing, because usually we just like to kind of wing it. And there,
we truly did write down one thing.
Yeah, we did. So it's under the topic of law enforcement. So I went to your website, which is adamforag.com. And AdamForAg.com.
How about AG? I am for ag, but AG.
All right, fine, whatever. I've heard it both ways. And in there, this was on the 30th. So last week, there's a tab, news tab, and it says Adam Jarchow announces first phase of Back the Bad campaign. And there was a whole bunch of information. So I want to get to, first phase. And can you tell us a little about the second phase? But what are these phases? And then get into a little bit of, it was all these bills that when you're in the legislature about law enforcement. So first, tell us, what is this first phase?
One of the things that we've noticed during this campaign and speaking with law enforcement across the state is how abandoned they feel by the political class, how during particularly the riots in 2020, so many law enforcement officers felt like they've been abandoned, and then we had the defund the police nonsense. And so we went back through my record when I was in the legislature to see how many what bills were done and how many were supported by law enforcement. And one of the funny things is once you're out of the legislature for a while, it kind of begins to all meld together and you forget exactly what the bills were and what was done. And so we did a very deep dive into bills that were supported by the various law enforcement groups across the state, and found that there were nearly 100 bills that I voted for that were supported by law enforcement. And some of them were really forward looking, and I didn't even remember them. So one of the things we've been spending a lot of time talking about is bail reform and the constitutional amendment that would be necessary. I didn't even remember, but in 2017, we passed that constitutional amendment in the state assembly. One of the things we're talking about a lot right now is fentanyl. We added fentanyl onto the controlled substances list when I was in the legislature. Nobody really had heard about fentanyl back then, or not much. And so what had happened was law enforcement would come to a legislator or legislators and say, we see this as an issue, an emerging issue. And one of the things that would happen, back then in the legislature is we would listen to law enforcement, take their advice and suggestions, turn them into bills, pass those bills, and they would be signed by Governor Walker. What you're seeing now, unfortunately, is a different dynamic where Governor Evers is vetoing a lot of those bills. And certainly you see it in the AG's office where Josh Call is not being helpful at all in helping to get some of those bills across the finish line. So I'm excited about the opportunity to be AG, to have a Republican governor, so that we can once again get back to doing some of these really good things that need to be done to make Wisconsin the best place to work for law enforcement officers in all of the Midwest.
When you were going through those, because there was a ton of them on there. I wish I had my other computer so I could put it on the screen here. There's tons of things that you had written down regarding the bills that you were a part of or signed onto, or however that stuff works. When you were looking back at those, you were saying there were some that you kind of were like, I kind of forgot that we did this one. That was like 5 years ago. Kind of forgot about that one. Was there any other ones that you kind of walking down that memory lane going, I forgot about that, and that was a big deal? Were there any other ones that really stood out to you?
Yeah, I think the bail ones, the ones that strengthen penalties on repeat offenders, because those are all the things that we're talking about today. And to go back and say, law enforcement had their finger on the pulse of what was happening and were bringing these bills to us, and we were listening and sort of looking forward to those things and passing them in a sort of proactive way. I was really pretty impressed with the number of things that we were able to get done. You kind of forget all of the good things that we were able to get done during those Walker years. And there was incredible strides made, and I think we can get right back to that if we will have a new governor and a new AG in the fall.
And that's the top topic. And we just had a Chiefs meeting here locally, and bail reform is the number one thing where we've got to give judges, and we had our judge in some of the discussion, we've got to get judges the power to hold people in jail for the crime, not for the return to court, for the seriousness of the crime, things like this. If you look at this one where we had the meth, I just looked it up. She had $2,500 cash, which is pretty good, but she was from outside the area. So I think that's why we had the cash. But it's a very serious thing. 128 grams selling to our kids is wrong. And I say meth is the number one problem in Barron County. It's the number one problem in Northwest Wisconsin. And it's because they're selling meth to our kids, and it's homelessness, and it goes into a lot of other topics. But bail reform is the number one thing that's got to get across the desk for our judges to have. I mean, it's not the cops don't need it, the judges need it. That's where the change has got to come so that it helps the cops.
You were on.
Yeah.
You were on Adam. December. It was in December. It was the last show of last year. You came on for a chat with me, and we had talked about bail reform, and maybe some people didn't see all that. So if you wouldn't mind kind of circling back to some of that, and especially since Fitzy kind of just brought that up as well, what are your thoughts? What are your views on bail reform?
Yeah, I think a lot of this came to the forefront for a lot of the public after the Waukesha massacre, and seeing a violent career offender with about a 50-page rap sheet that was let out on $500 bail, and then proceeded to kill and maim, grandmas and little kids during a Christmas parade. I think that really struck a lot of people as totally unacceptable, totally inappropriate. And people began to wonder, why is this happening? And there's two reasons why it's happening. First, we have a quirky constitutional provision that makes it somewhat more difficult in some circumstances for judges to consider the seriousness of the crime and other factors other than just whether the defendant will return to court in their bail decisions. And the second thing that we have is what I've come to call a cancer in our criminal justice system. We have far too many judges and far too many prosecutors, frankly. And it's not just in Milwaukee. We see this in various parts of the state, not everywhere. We do have some really good judges and we do have some really good prosecutors, but we have a number of them who seem okay with the idea of having extraordinarily low bail and allowing these people back out on the street where they're a danger to society or they're a danger to their communities. And we have to, as a society, do a better job holding judges and prosecutors accountable. And that's one of the things that I've been talking about as Attorney General that I will do. I mean, we'll set up a matrix in every county and put it on a website so people can see exactly what's happening with their prosecutors in their county, their judges in their county, what are happening with these bail recommendations and bail decisions. Because at the end of the day, my belief is that sunshine in government is the best disinfectant. And so if we let people know the information, they're likely to go to their prosecutor, remember, who they elect in their county every 4 years, and say, this is unacceptable. Why are you doing that? Same thing with judges. Now, again, I'm painting a little bit with a broad brush. We do have some great judges and we do have some great prosecutors, but we have a lot of them who have been infected with this kind of cancer that seems to prioritize the criminal over the victim, and we have to reverse that and get back to prioritizing the victim.
Fitzy, so I'm really curious because obviously, I think, Fitzy, this is our 89th show. Adam has been on, we did Politically Speaking with Adam and Patty, former Senator Patty Shockner. I miss those shows. Adam's probably been on.
Adam does it.
Yeah.
Right now he does.
Oh, I had fun with Patty. That was good times.
Yeah. So he's been on probably, 15 times. We did like 10 of those, and he's been on other ones. I'm interested to see the two of you have a conversation about this because now that we're on here together. So bail reform, it'd be great maybe we should start having higher bonds or start seeing more of those. But Fitzy, how does that impact you? Do you think, yes, we absolutely have to, but let's say everyone, just for fun and hypotheticals, so people can use this, your opponents can use this against you in your campaigns, if we can do a hypothetical here. Let's say all the bonds were just tripled for everything right now. Just like everything right now is all got tripled. How does that impact the sheriff's office and jails? How does that impact?
Oh, sure. It'll have an impact on us. But, and I think Adam believes the same thing that I believe in. Everybody gets a chance here. We're not saying you don't get a chance. You make a mistake, you don't get a chance. I'm saying it's the third, fourth, fifth time. It's the OWI seventh. It's the judge let me out on my signature, and then I went and violated 12 hours later, and I'm back in jail. Now, okay, listen, you didn't listen to the judge. That's not, Adam, I think that's exactly what you're saying. Everybody deserves a chance. Everybody makes mistakes. We understand that. But it's the idea that we can't have these people that are out there violating the crime, going against what the judge tells you. Ben, don't do that again. You can't drink, you can't drive, and 6 hours later you're drinking and driving. You've got to stay in jail for longer. We've got to protect the community. Exactly, that's the reason why.
Yeah, and one of the things that I would add to that, and I think Sheriff Fitzgerald is 100% correct, is
Sheriff
we have to
Fitzgerald.
be more. Fitzy, sorry.
He must be running for something. Sorry.
I think we have to be a little bit more serious too, and a little bit tougher on some prosecutors who are not prosecuting bail jumping. I think criminals a lot of times are looking at the system and almost snickering at it, saying, well, I'll get caught, I'll be right back out, and if I violate, I'm probably not going to get, a serious prosecution for this bail jumping. And again, painting with a broad brush, we have some great prosecutors and judges who are doing a good job on that. But if you look across the state, the number of bail jumping charges that are just dismissed or pled down to nearly nothing, it's really disheartening to see that we continue to allow this to happen with too many criminals that just refuse to follow the law time and time and time again.
But I think, Ben, you're back to your original point. It's going to have an effect on local jails. Just like when
Yeah.
we haven't criminalized first offense OWI, and I'm not for that because people make mistakes but we criminalize second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. But it's going to have an impact on local jails. There's no question about it. More people are going to be held in jail longer, um, and then you get these disparities in race and disparities in financial, your status and all that other stuff is going to come out during this. And so, but I think we got to go back to the simple part, and Adam did it. We've got to protect the public. I want my kids protected. I don't want that guy, fourth offense OWI, that told the judge, I'm not going to drink anymore, and 12 hours later is drinking, to not be on the road with my kids. And we've seen it in Waukesha, and it sucks that we have to use that as an example, but we're going to use that as an example. We have to use it as an example. If we'd have done what Adam and the legislature wanted in 2017 and 18, we wouldn't be here. We're here, now there's an incident, and now everybody wants us to react, and we're going to react to it. We do it all the time with whatever bill that happens. When something tragic happens, we use it to our advantage or our disadvantage, and we're going to have to use this one. And it sucks to do it that way, but we have to.
Yeah. I think we talked last week, and when Uncle Al was on, that we've been doing a lot more. I think we kind of started at the beginning of this year because we started seeing those bonds. We started putting that in all of our original articles on Crime and Court. Who the prosecutor was, we haven't put, or I'm sorry, who the judge was, if that's listed there. And then there's the notes in, CCAP. And some counties do it, some don't, some cases do. I don't know how that stuff works. But the ones that put that information in, we like to put in state requested 50,000, defense requested 500.
Yeah.
And the judge decided this. So we're adding that in, not for any kind of sensationalism or anything, but I think it's important for everyone to kind of start tracking. And honestly, it's kind of important for us too, because now that I've been doing it, I have a spreadsheet, and I'm seeing who's asking for more, who's and what judges are not following what the state required, or it's what. So it's interesting. I can't wait to the end of the year to kind of compile all this stuff, and I think we'll kind of get a little bit of a snapshot of where everybody is. So, Adam, on this topic of bail and bonds, as AG, you're elected AG. What can you do?
Two things that I think are most important. One, we'll use the bully pulpit like we talked about. But two, we're going to talk about what I hesitate to call him Fitzy, but you're going to make me do it. What Fitzy just mentioned, which is the budget issue in our local jails. So my view, and I'm a fiscal conservative, I actually voted against one of my own governor's budgets because I thought it spent too much money. But the number one priority in state government and local government has to be public safety. And so if the issue here is, well, we don't have enough jail space, or we don't have enough corrections officers, or we don't have enough money for that, too bad. We're going to have to put more money into it. And that's just the way that it is. And it doesn't mean that we're going to have to explode our budget. It means we have to prioritize, just like you do with your home budget, Ben, just like Sheriff Fitzgerald does with his budget in the sheriff's office. We're going to have to prioritize public safety as a state. So if we have to expand jail capacity so we keep violent career offenders off the street, so be it. And I will spend, because I've been through the process a couple of times and have worked with many of the legislators that are there and understand how the finance process works, the budget process, I will be in a great position as an advocate, as the Attorney General right away to go in with a budget that would help prioritize public safety, that would increase pay and benefits for officers, that will make sure that we have the best training and best equipment for officers, make sure that we have an adequate number of district attorneys, an adequate amount of jail and prison space. These things are really important, and we've seen the consequences of not prioritizing them, and it's horrific. You just look yesterday, the National Fraternal Order of Police publicized how many cops have been shot and killed this year. Over 100 already.
I know.
It is brutal what we are seeing across our state. There's been Milwaukee is on yet another record pace for murders. They had more carjackings in Milwaukee last year than Chicago. This has to come to an end, and we have to have people that will take it seriously and will do what's necessary from a budget perspective to make it come to an end.
By the way, I really like your dressing up for the show today. I'm not used to seeing you like that. Someone had brought up domestic abuse. Let's step that up too, and that just reminded me. Fitzy and I have talked a lot on the show that when it comes to kids, especially regarding sexual assaults towards minors, boy, that just gets under our skin. That just burns us up. And I mean, crimes are crimes, etc. But I don't know, that stuff is, ugh. And I'm actually finding a lot of, or it's very common to find $2,500 bonds for these. $5,000 cash bond, or a signature bond. And it's what? We did a story a couple years ago. It was someone here in Spooner, and it was a child victim, molesting, etc. And he gets $1,000. I think it was a signature bond. It could have been a cash bond. I can't remember. I remember it was $1,000, and the person, even in the criminal complaint, had stated, "If you let me out, I'm going to do it again." That's $1,000. Get out of here. It's, what are we doing? So I know, and I think it is important to understand, though, that bonds that's not the punishment, right? That's for different time. But do you think there's an optic part that they also need to consider, or does that not play a role in this at all? Shouldn't it play a role in this at all? But maybe it kind of still does when people do see bonds and they react to bonds. Should that have any impact on the decisions that state is asking for and judges are giving? Adam, I'll ask that to you. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking Fitzy.
Well, for Fitzy,
So did I.
Yes. Particularly because, again, the criminals are looking at this and laughing at it, right? That is the hard part. It's not so much about whether Joe Schmo thinks that it was enough. That's an important thing for us to think about, but the most important thing is to make sure that criminals understand that if they break the law, they engage in these serious crimes, that there's going to be serious consequences, that they're not just going to be right back out on the street. If they're a danger to our community, to our kids, they're going to have to sit and they're going to have to understand going forward that there are going to be real consequences. And when people begin to understand that there are real consequences, they will begin to treat the law as the law and stop breaking it.
I agree 100%. I mean, and if you violate your bond, you'll sit, get found not guilty, and then get out. I don't care. I mean, then beat us in court and prove that you're not guilty, and win your court case. And we don't win them all, but we win a majority of them and a lot of them, and then that's your chance. You've been given your chance to get out of jail and be a good person in society, then go do it. If you violate that, you're going to stay in jail until the judge says you're guilty or not guilty, and you go to prison, jail, whatever it is. So it's as simple as that. It's not a very complicated issue. It does get complicated with jail size, and I got room in the end, though. So right. If they want to start holding them, I got plenty of room.
Yeah, I know. You make like a quarter of our budget probably goes to you. So there's a couple of questions. Anytime someone asks a question, we always make sure we put it up. So you can, I think one of these we already discussed. I'll put that one up right now. Where to go? There it is. As AG, do you initiate bond and bail issues or support the person or people that have initiated it?
Yes and no. So the DOJ does have prosecutors, and of course, if the DOJ prosecutors are prosecuting the cases, then they'll make the bail recommendations. The vast majority of cases, of course, across Wisconsin are prosecuted by local county district attorneys and their offices, and they're the ones making those bail recommendations. Okay,
and then this one really is a little. National thing. How did Jackson get appointed to the Supreme Court given her super far left views? How many Republicans had to vote for her?
Is that to me?
I think so, yeah. So. The Supreme Court? What?
Yeah. I don't know.
This is one of those things that it frustrates me about where we are as a society. So as a small business owner, if I would say, I'm only going to hire a black man, I'm not considering anybody else. It's illegal, right? We can't do that. We can't discriminate by race or gender, and we shouldn't be able to. Yet the president says, I'm only going to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court, and it's just fine. I think we have to stop segregating people by race and by gender. I really think that it's destructive to people being able to see each other as people and not part of some group or category. So I was disappointed that that's the way that the president approached it. Some of the answers that the nominee gave during the hearings were a little bit disconcerting. So if I was in the United States Senate, I would not vote for her based on some of those answers. But as I understand it, there are 2 or 3 Republicans that are going to vote for her. So it sounds like she is going to be confirmed.
Sure. Fitzy, do you have anything else? So I didn't write anything else down, and I was listening, so I wasn't thinking of the next question.
No, I'm kind of curious on how. I mean, Adams campaigned locally before. How is it going across the state?
Oh, right.
I want to learn more about you traveling. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, it's way bigger than you think, and you've been hitting it hard. I mean, I'm very impressed.
It is an incredibly different kind of campaign than running for a state assembly seat. We have 99 assembly districts in the state, so they're reasonably small. I used to represent almost all of Polk County, about the southern half of Burnett County, and a little bit of St. Croix. Pretty easy in comparison to running around the entire state. And, when you think about some of the cities in Wisconsin are 4.5, 5 hours away from here, it becomes a lot of windshield time. But it's actually been pretty great. It's been pretty interesting. I've gotten to meet a lot of people that I wouldn't get to meet otherwise. I've gotten to hear a lot of perspectives from people in different parts of the state. When you're in the state assembly, you have one district that you're concerned with, and you vote the priorities of that district. And those aren't always the same priorities or concerns that are shared in, say, central Wisconsin or southeastern Wisconsin or even southwestern Wisconsin. So it's really interesting to see those priorities. And of course, one of the things that I have seen, particularly in southeastern Wisconsin, is an incredible focus on the crime that's coming out of Milwaukee and how we deal with that. And it's interesting how a lot of those issues are similar, but not the same as issues that we're seeing in other parts of the state. It's not just rising crime in Milwaukee; it's all across the state. So it's been really busy. It's been a lot of travel, but it's been a lot of fun. And we're 6 weeks or so away from the state party convention, and then where August is the primary in November. So we've still got a long way to go here, but in just 2.5 months, we've built, in my opinion, and I'm biased, of course, an awesome campaign team with awesome staff, awesome endorsements. We've gotten a couple dozen law enforcement endorsements, about 30 legislative endorsements, raised over $250,000. I mean, we are on pace to be able to have a campaign that can actually not only win the primary, but win in the fall.
When you go to the different parts of Wisconsin and you hear things, people come up to you after these town halls, I'm sure there's a lot of commonalities or similar things that it's echoed from Hayward to Wausau to Kenosha, etc. But are there some that aren't? Some that, it's interesting. I go to Green Bay. This is the one thing that never really gets brought up anywhere else. Is there anything that is kind of unique geographically in Wisconsin when you talk to people?
Yeah, for sure. So in northwestern Wisconsin, as the sheriff said earlier, meth is our biggest concern. But if you're in other parts of the state, meth is an issue, but opioids are more of the issue in some of the other parts of the state. Here we don't really have much in the way of carjacking. As I mentioned earlier, you go to Milwaukee, it is kind of an epidemic of carjacking. Here, we don't necessarily have so many young people who are involved in really serious crime. But in southeastern Wisconsin, it's a real problem, a real conundrum, and how to deal with that appropriately. You go to northeastern Wisconsin, where they have the Lincoln Hills Detention Center. We don't have that issue here so much, but it's a real issue and concern there, and with in southeastern Wisconsin, where a lot of the kids that go to Lincoln Hills are coming from. There's a lot of sort of regional issues and differences that are interesting to kind of see how people are talking about them and worrying about them. But there's also a lot of commonalities. Everybody I talk to, particularly on the Republican side, is concerned with election integrity and making sure that our elections are safe and secure. We hear about that all of the time. And it's a huge issue that we've spent a fair amount of time talking about. And I would say on the Republican side, at least, and probably even center and maybe even a little bit center left, everybody is so sick and tired of the defund the police nonsense. It is amazing to me the support that we have seen for law enforcement. Every time that I'm in a meeting and somebody says, if you're in law enforcement, please stand up so we can thank you. They get a standing ovation. The support for law enforcement in Wisconsin is absolutely incredible, and it's across the state.
Yeah, I know Fitzy and we had discussed that. It was a situation a couple of years ago. I don't have my dolphin ringtone on here right now, but I'd bring that up. I can't support any organization that supports a movement that defunds the police. It just completely takes away from it. We've said that, and I've been very strong advocate for, or against, I should say, anything that is defund the police. And it wasn't a very popular thing. Now, in our area, I think it was kind of okay, but it was kind of a, really? You know what that means, don't you? Don't defund the police. That's what it means. I don't want that. And it does seem, that's interesting you brought that up, because it does seem to be kind of fading out now. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just because it's the midterms. Like, I think Biden, even during his State of the Union, we don't need to defund the police. We need to fund, probably just a political thing. But still, it's kind of doesn't seem nobody's really talking about that as much as they were before. Is it one of those things that you see? Maybe Fitzy, you see it. I mean, we're in Barron and I'm in Washburn. But Adam, when you go around, and you being from politics, is that just kind of how these things go? It just kind of goes in cycles, like the Tea Party. Whatever happened to that? It's like, well, that was a thing for a while, but it's not anymore. Was it inevitably just going to go away?
I was going to say, I'd be curious to hear the sheriff's thoughts on it.
I agree 100%. I think what they saw is that the cops aren't doing anything wrong. And they were like, well, why would we defund them? They're not doing anything wrong. Now, and if a cop does something wrong, we hold them accountable to, the standards that were applied. We've did that here in Barron County. When a cop does something wrong, we've held them to them standards. And I think across the state, people were like, oh my gosh, every cop is a bad cop. And they're like, no, they're not. And I think they kind of said, well, this is wrong. And the move is, and we're very, popular because we go out and help people. I mean, we're almost to the level of a firefighter. I mean, we're getting there. Seriously, I just think that it's that important that people thought we need the cops, and that crime is going rampant in those cities where it was very popular to defund the police, and now they're like, wait a second, we lost traction.
Yeah, Adam, what do you think?
I think a lot of people have really seen the destructive nature of that rhetoric. We are having serious recruitment and retention problems in law enforcement, serious problems with people leaving the profession, serious problems with getting people to join the profession. Some of that is pay and benefits related, to some extent, that's the easy part to fix, right? That's money. We as I said earlier, we prioritize public safety. We give raises. We give bonuses. You saw Governor DeSantis has been a leader in this across the nation. He just gave bonuses to law enforcement there. We're going to have to do that here in Wisconsin, but it won't help if we don't have people in politics, the governor, the attorney general, the county board chair, the members of Congress saying they support law enforcement. They're going to stand behind law enforcement. They're not going to do this hair trigger. I saw a cell phone video. I'm going to convict the cops the way that Tony Evers did during the Jacob Blake shooting. I mean, we just cannot do that. We have to have folks who will stand with law enforcement because, at the end of the day, even though Sheriff Fitzgerald made light of the meth bust, it's an incredibly dangerous job. They put their lives on the line, and we owe it to them to stand with them.
Yeah, we like to use levity, not light. That gets us in trouble when we say we make light of things. So we have a time for just a couple questions here. Kirk Anderson, speaking of fire, how is the gas and oil change bills? Okay, we'll work on sentence structure later, Kirk, but oil change.
He's going to get elected back to the mayor today.
Yeah, so that's right, yeah.
We get to keep him for a couple more years.
Yeah.
He'll get his own tone pretty soon on our show.
Oh, yeah, we probably should. So, Adam?
Brutal. I fill my truck up and it's $110.
Well, you shouldn't have a gas guzzler truck. That's what I see on Facebook all the time. Don't complain when you have a $70,000 vehicle that gets 10 miles to the gallon. That's what I'm told.
Well, I live up north. It snows. It snowed the other day. It's not uncommon that I actually have to flip on my four-wheel drive. I've done that a lot with these trips across the state where I wake up in the morning at 4:30 and it's snowing, and it is what it is when you live up north. And it is very expensive, and it's not just for me. This is for businesses and consumers across the state. We have a service truck that's on the road. That's a diesel truck that has to pull a big trailer. $5 a gallon means that we have to charge our customers more. Right. When you have your food being brought to a grocery store by a semi that's putting $5 a gallon diesel in. I complain about my $100 fill up. These guys are doing $700 or $800 fill ups. It's going to make your food costs go up. It raises everything, and I think it's painful to a lot of people. It's inflicting serious pain when maybe you've got a raise last year of 3-4%, but when your cost of living went up 8%, you effectively took a pay cut last year. It is brutal.
Well, my Jeep gets 6 miles a gallon, and it's old, so the emissions are terrible. If I lived in California, they'd take it away from me because the emissions are so terrible. There's like a small little hole right up in the driveway, right above my Jeep, where there's a little hole in the ozone layer, right above my Jeep. So I let it run in the wintertime for like 20 minutes, and I drive it like 3 blocks. Oh, it's terrible. Here's another one. How can the state legally tell felons they can't conceal and carry when that is a constitutional right? So I'm not sure what that was going on. You must, Adam. Your response to that?
Long standing allowance in the law, both at the federal and the state level, for felons to not be able to carry firearms. It's no different than a number of other what we would sort of consider civil rights being lost by felons. Very common that felons don't have all of their rights. I mean, once you sort of break the societal compact by becoming a felon, the society has the right to impose some punishments and restrictions on you, and it's very common to happen, not only in the firearms context.
Yeah. And there's one last up here. And Fitzy, I want you to answer that one first. I see many law enforcement who let the badge get to their head and they thrive on the power/control. It would be nice to see more officers humanize the badge and not use it to control people. Law enforcement works for we, the people.
I disagree. And obviously, it might be a very small portion. Maybe she had a bad incident with a law enforcement officer. I'm sorry for that, but that is not how we work at Barron County Sheriff's Department, and that's not what we do. So I disagree. We do work for the people. I agree with her on that. But if that is happening, you need to report that to us, and we'll look into it. That's why we carry body cameras, squad cameras, everything that goes on there. So I think that's a bad experience. It's a very small percentage, if that's true.
I just want to say something on that, and since we're not FCC monitored, I'm just going to call it what it is. It's bullshit. We have, I've been on so many emergency scenes with law enforcement where they have acted incredibly professionally under very difficult circumstances. I was on a scene of a drunk driver, as a firefighter, and she was belligerent and abusive and put in the back of the squad car and urinated in the back of the squad car. And the way that law enforcement comported themselves on that scene and every single other scene I've ever been on in the course of my life with law enforcement is incredible. The professionalism that they exhibit and the restraint that's exhibit in very, very difficult, trying circumstances. So I just, to the extent that anybody thinks that, I would encourage you to spend more time with law enforcement, because you will find an entirely different, you'll come away with an entirely different understanding of how they work.
Yeah. And by the way, Rebecca, I love, she put in there, I love your work, Chris, you're speaking in general. I love that question, Rebecca, because that is a question that we've all probably heard in the past, or that there's certain kind of people that go into law enforcement, and maybe you could put them into, 3 or 4 categories. And one of those would be there is this, I don't know if power control is right, but I've heard those words before. I've thought that before. So I like the question. And I also appreciate both of you taking the time to answer it. And, oh, Mike. Hey. That's his new ringtone now. Whatever.
I appreciate what you said, Adam, and I appreciate what you do, Ben, because that's the one thing that this show has taught me and allowed me to do and allowed Adam to do and allowed you to do is not be as political as sometimes we are. I mean, I just think, like I said,
we probably should be, but
we probably should be. But That's what I've learned out of this and got out of watching Adam is we've got to hit this kind of head on, and Adam does that, and that's what impressed me about Adam, and he's taken it on and jumped into this thing and said, and not said, geez, I gotta be in Milwaukee this weekend. No, I met you that other morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. You were in Rice Lake. You left. You were in Wausau. You left. You're in Waukesha or wherever you were by 8 o'clock at night. You went across the state. And I think that's so impressive. And I just thank you for what you do, the support you give law enforcement. And, glad to see you in August or in November in office. It's going to be awesome having an attorney general from the north part of Wisconsin.
I know. And actually, I have a story. It's similar to echo that. It was a couple weeks ago. Adam, and I hope you don't mind, we're just totally sharing all these stories about you. It was a couple weeks ago. You were like at noon or something, and you would send a text say, hey, you want to meet for lunch? I'm going through Spooner. I'm like, sure. So we just met a few blocks away, and we just chatted for a little bit. And I said, why don't we take a picture next to people and send it to your campaign? He's like, no, I just want to sit down and have some lunch with you and just chat. So it wasn't about politics. It wasn't about plans. It was just sitting down and chatting. And then, if I recall, Adam, and you probably don't remember, you're so busy right now, but I think you were heading up to like Ashland, something was going up there, spending the night in the hotel, then driving all the way down to Milwaukee area for something that next day where, I don't know, some firefighters or somebody was endorsing you. And then, so you're like, holy cow, that's a lot of miles going from Polk all the way up to Ashland just for the night, then back down to Milwaukee, then back over to Polk, all within a 24-hour period. What were you? Remind me. What were you going down to? I think it was Milwaukee. Do you remember what that was about?
Yeah, I think that was the trip. I have been endorsed by the Milwaukee professional firefighters, and I think that was the trip to go down there and do the handshaking and the photo deal and to meet with those guys again. And it's been one of the most rewarding parts of this again is to meet all of these different people in public service, law enforcement, firefighters, EMS, and get a chance to chat with them across the state. It's been a lot of fun. And I was going to Ashland because we were meeting with a candidate that's going to run for the state assembly up there.
Breaking news here on DrydenWire?
Yeah. Senator Staffschild and I were meeting with somebody who I'm pretty sure is going to be in the race, and we wanted to, it was kind of an opportunity to chat with him and then, go meet some other voters as well on that trip. So it was great.
All right, so we have a question from Patty. That's not the...
Oh, no.
we were actually just going to wrap it up, but I just saw that she had a question. So there's her question. Domestic violence is a huge issue locally. Why don't we take on this issue more aggressively? Sexual violence, including transgender sexual violence. How do you address this?
Well, we would address it one case at a time because I agree with her. I mean, we take it on. And if anybody feels they were violated or, whatever, we would do this. I don't care who they are, what they are. It doesn't matter. So that's how we would address it. I mean, again, I think it comes down to bail reform and everything that happens like this and how some people's thoughts on this. But, that's a pretty political topic probably. But
that'd be good for Adam.
Yeah.
Well, and I do want to say something about that because you remember that Daryl Brooks, the Waukesha, the guy that committed the Waukesha massacre, the $500 bail that he was out on was he had a domestic abuse incident where he actually punched his girlfriend in the face and then ran her over with the car. And I want people, particularly women who are maybe in these circumstances, to feel safe, that they should be able to call in a domestic abuser and that once they're arrested, that they're actually going to sit. Because you just imagine that poor woman who called him in and then he was right back out on the street, how terrifying that must be for her. We have to take this seriously. We have to have judges and prosecutors who will take it seriously and who will make sure that those people are sitting so they're not reoffending and not re-victimizing the people who were first victimized and reported them.
Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure. We're already up against our time here. What do you have coming up this week, Adam?
Let's see. Election stuff today, election parties today, right? Local elections. Right. Tomorrow, I think I'm heading down to southern Wisconsin. I'm down there for Wednesday and Thursday for events. Back up here on Friday, then Saturday. I don't remember. There's a pack jam bunch of stuff on Saturday across the state. Sunday, on Palm Sunday, I think we've only got one Lincoln Day dinner to hit on Palm Sunday in central Wisconsin. So we'll just keep after it and keep driving around the state and putting $110 worth of gas in every single time.
Yeah. So just in case we didn't give your any opponents of yours enough ammunition, let me ask you this: when you're driving around, what's the one part of the state that you just hate going to? They're the worst.
Oh wow!
Part of Minnesota, right?
I am definitely not answering that. Every part of Wisconsin is beautiful, wonderful, man. Come on, man. The worst part of Wisconsin is when I go across the Stillwater Bridge into Minnesota. How about that?
Yeah.
Ugh. All right, fine. That's a good answer. Whatever. Fitzy, what about you? What do you have coming up this week?
It's a couple meetings here or there. I'm seeing a Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation banquet this weekend. So, and Adam's a big hunter supporter, farmer supporter. I mean, he can do it all as the AG. So appreciate everything you're doing, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. Thanks for all you do.
Don't compliment Fitzy. No. You got a big head. No. We don't do compliments to each other, just to our guests. That's our policy.
Okay.
So this Thursday I will be chatting with, I don't know if you are familiar with her, Joan Beglinger, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. She's an independent running for governor in Wisconsin. So this April starts. We're now doing 2 shows a week. Obviously, our Ben and Fitzy show on Tuesdays, but we'll be adding a second show on. Most of them are going to be on Thursdays from now through the election. So that'll be this Thursday. Next Thursday will be Tom Tiffany for his monthly chat. The following week, I think it's on Wednesday, is with Tim Fry from Ignite Dispensary here in Spooner, because it's 420 day. So I don't know. We're going to get high in the show or something weird. I have no idea what's going on. Yeah. No, it's still illegal, isn't it?
No.
Wow.
It's still illegal.
It's still illegal. All right. We won't be doing that then, I guess. But we'll be talking about 420, whatever. And then that following Thursday, the last Thursday of the month, I think it is, Will Martin, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, will be on for a chat. So we got a whole bunch of shows coming up.
You like him so much, he might take
I love
over.
that dude. I
know you do.
I love that dude. I just do. I don't know. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a good one.
Special thank you to our guest, candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General Adam Jarchow, for joining us today. You know, Fitzy, we didn't bring up Dave Wilson. Well, I can't put the ding on now because the music's playing. All right. You can find out more information about Adam and his campaign by visiting adamforag.com and adamforag.com. For Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden, and you've been watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. With nearly 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business provides quality work both on the outside and the inside of your home or business. So give Brian a call today, 715-520-2271. As we sign off, remember, it's the little things that make a big difference. Thank you for watching, and have a blessed day.